Now, don't you think that would be the beginning of all the problems? Because if you take history, all the major battles have been fought because of religion. This thing could be labeled differently. I mean, a temple in every city could be labeled.
No, I did not say temple in every city, did I? I said your home, your city, your town and your state and your nation and the world should become like a temple. That cannot be done by building more temples. That can only be done by you being in touch with the divine. And anyway, about the major war, you need to understand this. There never was any kind of religious war till about 2000 years ago. Not even 2000, about 1700 years. There never was, because in the East, in this part of the world, there was no such thing as religion. You do not know this? This is the only religionless culture, godless culture. This may be a little scary for people, because we have 33 million gods and goddesses and that happened when our population was 33 million. Since then, our population has increased, but we did not create enough gods and goddesses. Because of Western influence, we started feeling ashamed of gods and goddesses. If each one of you, there's something called as Ishtadevata, you can create your own god. You don't like any of the things available, you can make a tree in your house, God, you worship it, nobody will think it's an odd thing in There's a rock in your garden, you can worship it, nobody will think it's odd. You can worship your mother, you can worship your wife, you can worship your child, you can worship a cow, whatever you want. But the important thing is, there should be devotion in your heart, because if there is no devotion, with this much intelligence, this animal will go crazy. It needs devotion. Devotion means not about God, about you, isn't it? Is devotion about you or about God? Whose quality does it change? Whose quality does it change? Your quality or God's quality? It's about you. It's about transforming you into a certain level of sweetness which cannot be contaminated from outside. This is what devotion means. That you are devout means you have created a certain sweetness in your emotion which cannot be contaminated, which cannot be made bitter by somebody else. If you love this person, if this person gets against you, your love becomes poison, isn't it? Don't know. So devotion is that dimension of intelligence where you know how to manage your sweetness irrespective of what the world is doing to you and the people are doing to you. If you don't have this capability, you will not go very far in this world, isn't it? If you have the fear that you could become bitter, you will only take baby steps in your life. If you know, no matter what happens, this is how I am. It does not matter what happens to me in this world, this is how I will be. If this assurance you have, only then you take full strides into the world. Otherwise, you will always take hesitating strides into the world, isn't it? So, there has never been a religion in this country, I want you to know. What you call as Hindu is a geographical identity. Anybody who's born in the land of Indus is a Hindu. You can believe in God and be a Hindu. You can disbelieve in God and be a Hindu. In your house, if you have 5 people can worship 5 different types of gods and still be okay with each other. This is not allowed anywhere else, because here we know that God is man's making. It is a device that we have created to touch the divine. Yes? If you do not understand this, how did all the gods come? We want to create devices to somehow touch the dimension, which is the basis of creation. So we evolved a whole technology of God-making, not just creating forms, energizing them in such a way that it will assist you to touch the dimension of life. Everything is same energy. If you take some filth from the gutter and throw it at the root of the mango tree, it becomes a mango. The filth and the mango are same, isn't it? So why don't you just eat the filth, not the mango? No, you cannot eat that, but the mango you want to eat. This filth has been transformed into such sweetness, isn't it? What you call as earth that you walk upon is what is sitting here as your body and my body, isn't it? Yes or no? So it is the same thing, but it can be transformed into different dimensions of sweetness and energy and possibility, though it's the same thing. So understanding this, we evolved a whole science of consecration where we know how to turn a stone into divine. It is not a simple process. It is not just by belief. It is not just because of somebody believes it. It will reverberate. There is a whole science as to how to energize a space. Simply you can energize this space, make it crackle. You can take any object and make it. For example, if you are sensitive, you hold this in your hand. I will just hold it in my hand for 1 minute and give it to you, it'll feel different. Only problem is, this object will not be able to hold that energy for too long. After some time, it'll dissipate and again become a metal plate. If you create this form with the necessary care, you can energize it in a way that it stays for a long period. So, we can consecrate an object. What is just stone right now will reverberate with a tremendous field of energy. If people come and just sit there, their lives are transformed. It is for this the temples were built. Temples are not a place of worship. Nobody is leading a prayer. There is no philosophy being propounded. But they told you one thing, if you go to the temple, you must sit there for some time. Did they tell you this? Huh? Nobody told you have to send an application to God, but they told you must sit there for some time. Now these days you're just touching your bottom to the floor and running away, that is not the idea. This is like a public battery charging place. If the place is kept alive, if you sit there, your life can transform itself, if it is properly created. I am talking about the ancient temples. Today's temples, many of them are built like shopping complexes, probably for the same purpose, that's a different thing. But if it's properly done, it is a phenomenally energizing space. Life can change simply sitting there.
You get into a certain rhythm which is compulsive within you, you will be just a repetition of the past. If you want to break your emotional rhythms, these are simplest tools, may be drastic, but if you don't want to waste time in your life, that's the way to go. When it comes to the innermost core, it is all one. When it comes to the body, when it comes to the mind, when it comes to your emotions and the world around you and your activity, the whole significance of life, the beauty of life and the efficacy of life is in just finding the right rhythm. What is your rhythm? If you listen to the outermost surface of who you are, there will be one kind of rhythm. If you delve a little deeper, there will be another kind of rhythm. There is a very surface rhythm which will find expression in very fundamental needs and compulsions of who you are. If you watch yourself a little more closely, you will see there is a psychological rhythm which need not necessarily match with the needs and compulsions which drive you on a daily basis. If you watch with little more sensitivity, you would notice an emotional rhythm, which is of a completely different nature than your psychological rhythm. If you watch much more keenly, you may notice a certain chemical rhythm, which could be more connected to our emotional cycles than anything else. If you watch with much more awareness, you may notice a certain energy rhythm, which will not have anything to do with any of these things, but it causes everything else. But if you look deep enough, there is no rhythm, it's utter stillness. There is nothing to do about one stillness, just to take a dip is all you can do. But all the other realms need to be worked at. Your energies, your chemistry, your emotion, your thought, your body, your desire, and the karmic rhythms, these things need to be worked at. Otherwise, you will be just a repetition of the past. If you get into a certain rhythm which is compulsive within you, you will be just a repetition of the past over and over again. Nothing new will ever touch you. So to find the rhythm and consciously to change the rhythm, to make the rhythm more profound, more complex, or more simple. Above all, to be able to consciously change the rhythm, not to be like a broken record, that you go on singing the same rhythm all the time, all the time, all the time. At the age of 60, somebody comes to me yesterday and says, "My husband is not paying enough attention to me." I said, "You must be glad." You had these prayer problems when you were 18. Not good, but understandable. At 60, you still have the same problem. At 60, if you're still a teenager, oh, nobody's going to tolerate you. Yes? Nobody's going to tolerate a 60-year-old behaving like a teenager, isn't it? So, if you do not learn to consciously change the rhythm of body, mind, emotion, chemistry and energy, you will become like a broken record, simply repeating the same things over and over again. The easiest way or the simplest way to break the rhythms which are compulsive within you is to start doing things that you don't like. You would like to start the morning with a chocolate, but here you start with a neem ball. Just what you don't like. If you want to break your emotional rhythms, the simplest thing is to look for somebody that you cannot stand and to work with them. Choose them as your partner to work with. Somebody you just can't stand. These are simplest tools, may be drastic, but if you don't want to waste time in your life, that's the way to go. To just get up in the morning and do what you don't like. And after some time, you will see your likes and dislikes are essentially your making. They are not some God-given laws as to what you should like and what you should dislike. It's got nothing to do with the object of your like or the object of your dislike. It is just your compulsiveness which draws you to certain things and repels you from certain other things.